Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, and Zenless Zone Zero. Is it time to move on? Should you give up on HoYoverse games? Is a question many players have been floating around due to the extremely poor choices made by the company. And recently, Honkai Star Rail had their 3.2 update livestream which did not go as they expected. So let's start with that. Should you give up on Honkai Star Rail? When the game first came out, everyone was having a blast. Only a handful of characters to pick from, and every new character coming out felt like a major addition to the character pool. All characters apart from Silverwolf. She kinda cooked everything. In that time, it felt like every character you pulled for had a big purpose. But if you skip them, you could still enjoy the game at a decent level with your already existing characters. And yes, you could say that with pretty much any gacha game out there. When starting out, everything's nice and fresh, and as the game keeps evolving, so do the characters and their mechanics. It's a natural progression of any game, but the reason why Honkai Star Rail is being pointed out instead of the other gacha games is because of the sheer intensity that they do it at. This game has the biggest power creep problem I've ever seen in any game. Somehow there are way more 5-star characters than 4-star ones, and even if you end up pulling for one of the newest characters after like 3 or 4 patches, there's going to be a new, better version of that character, so the one you pulled for a couple patches ago will start to feel more useless as the game goes on. Now let's talk about the most recent Honkai Star Rail news, the 3.2 update livestream. Whilst most of it was a disaster, I do think there was some good in that stream as well, like them adding more cutscenes to have a better story experience and going back to Penacony to fill in some story gaps. I feel like them giving everyone a free copy of Ruan Mei or Luocha, the free limited 5-star character that we know nothing about yet, and the 30 free pulls is like an attempt to soften the players down so they can introduce probably the single worst decision they've ever made in their game, which of course is the global passive. Castoris, Rice, I don't know how you pronounce that. Rice is the first character in Honkai Star Rail that will have a global passive, which if you don't know is basically an effect that applies to your team even if, in this case, Rice is not on your team. And whilst the passive is not that crazy right now, it just revives your character for free, it will get far worse as the game goes on, because this banner will sell extremely well, and when a banner does good in sales, that's a green flag for the company to do that thing again for their future characters. Meaning that there will probably be another character with a global passive that increases the entire account's, I don't know, crit rate, crit damage, HP, or energy recharge, basically any stat in the game, which is horrible, because it means that if you don't own these global passive characters, you will fall behind and do way worse than the players who have them. What I'm trying to say is you will have to sink a lot of money in the game because they will start pumping out these bad boys at such a rate that a free-to-play player won't be able to keep up. This game will keep on getting more predatory and increase the game's FOMO every patch until there is no return. So yes, you should 100% give up on Honkai Star Rail before you spend any more money on time on this sinking game. Let's move on to something more light. Zenless Zone Zero. Honestly, the game right now is great. I've been enjoying it quite a bit. The events seem fun and well made. The character designs are designing, and I can't really find any complaints about the game as of right now. The only worrying sign for me personally is the release of Miyabi and how much better of a DPS she is compared to the other DPS characters in the game at the moment. So that could mean that they just do a Honkai Star Rail and every couple of patches release a completely busted unit that power creeps everything, and the game is in shambles. But for now, it's just a thing to keep note of, and the game is in pretty good state. So to keep it a schmeckle with you, I would recommend playing Zenless Zone Zero if you haven't tried it yet. Alright, here's the big one. Genshin Impact. It is cooked. Ever since probably Sumeru, the game has been getting less and less enjoyable for a lot of players, including myself. They did kind of give themselves a lifeline and their player base a lot of hope with the Fontaine release, but everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. When they released the Nation of War, the Nation of the Pyro Element, the Nation of Pokemon? It was definitely a curveball nobody asked for, and it feels like everything surrounding that land is is just causing the game to decrease in popularity. From the horrible idea of making more traversal characters and locking all of it behind a 5-star character paywall, to one of the most predatory banner releases of all time. It seems that Natlan can do nothing right, and I feel like whatever the next region release is, it's going to decide the future of this game, because if it's as bad as Natlan, the game will just destroy itself and the players will leave. Well, the reasonable ones anyway. Genshin will always have the main collectors and the Twitter snowflakes on their side, but honestly, they can stay there and enjoy their baby game. So now, let's go back to the original question. Should you give up on HoYoverse games? Yes. Let's be honest, all of you like these games only because of the sunk cost fallacy. You only like these games because the amount of money or time you have put into them, and trust me, I know how this feels. I've played Genshin Impact since its release and spent probably over $5,000 on the game, which is the dumbest thing I've ever done, and I regret it every time I think about it. So the sooner you realize that the sole purpose of not just these 3 games but all gacha games in general is to get as much money from you as possible, the better. Some companies are just way better at giving players what they actually ask for and want than others. Me personally, I will stop moving away from Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail content. Unless I genuinely find something interesting, then I'll go back and see whatever it is. I know this channel mostly grew from me posting Genshin Impact shorts over the past 4 years, and it might be hard to get away from that, but I do feel like change is overall a good thing and therefore better videos to be released. And honestly, making this video has been quite fun, so maybe I'll make these types of videos more in the future. On a final note, if you've only played HoYoverse games, go try other gacha games. Explore the gacha landscape, open that smooth brain a little bit, there's plenty for you to play. But gacha games aren't the only games out there in the world, and the sooner you realize that, the better. And yeah, thank you all so much for listening to this Yap Fest. Let me know what you thought in the comment section down below. And I'ma go finish killing the Lord of Blood in Elden Ring. Wish me luck.